Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a deep, cinematic dive into a city that I honestly couldn't believe was literally built by rebellion, washed away by muddy waters, and then completely resurrected by the exact same forces that put it on the map in the first place. We're talking about Riverside, Missouri. Now, if you trace the history of this small Missouri river town, you are not going to find some quiet, sleepy farming community. Oh no. You find an outlaw river town. It's a place defined by a wheel of fortune that has been relentlessly turning for nearly a century.
To really get the soul of this town, we have to listen to the people who actually lived through its most electric era. Vern Davis, a local resident and thoroughbred jockey racing back in the 1930s, perfectly captures that gasoline and mud-soaked allure of early Riverside. This guy weighed just 105 pounds, and he rode up to 8 grueling races a single day. So when he says you should have seen it with all those people, he's really not exaggerating. He takes us right back to a time when Riverside was the absolute epicenter of high-stakes entertainment and just unfiltered ambition.
And that really brings us to the overarching narrative wheel of our explainer today. The story of Riverside is just this fascinating paradox. We're going to see how illegal vices, horse tracks, and mobsters built the entire foundation of the city, and then how, decades later, the legalized, state-sanctioned counterparts of those exact same vices ultimately saved it from the brink of destruction. Section 1. Boss Tom and the Downs. Okay, let's dive into this, because right at the center of it all was Tom Pendergast, the infamous political boss of Kansas City. The way this guy operated is honestly a hilarious masterclass in working the system. See, horse racing had very strict legal boundaries at the time, so Pendergast and his associates used a brilliant legal loophole. They didn't take bets. I mean, come on, that would be illegal. Instead, visitors to the Riverside Park track made contributions. And, if your horse just happened to cross the finish line first, well, you just stroll up to a window and collect a refund. It was the most open secret in town, and it completely bypassed the law. And this loophole, it was wildly successful. Get a load of this figure. For a small river town, it's absolutely mind-blowing that at its peak, Riverside Park, which was also known as Riverside Downs, was drawing crowds of up to 20,000 people in a single day. They'd pour in on the 79-mile high-speed electric interurban railroad, stepping right off the trains across the street from the gates, just ready to spend their money. The sheer scale of this whole operation is just staggering. What started out as a humble half-mile track was expanded by Pendergast in 1933 into a massive 1-mile thoroughbred track. The park boasted around 30 different buildings, including this 2-story elite clubhouse, where high-level politicians, even a young Harry Truman, would sit and watch the races. And just to show you how much sheer power Pendergast wielded, when the enormous wooden grandstands burned to the ground right before racing season, he didn't cancel the races. No way. He brought in floodlights, hired a 24-hour work crew with bulldozers, and entirely rebuilt the grandstands in a matter of days.
And this brilliantly illustrates the historical irony of Riverside. Just down the road from the track was the Cuban Gardens. This was an elite restaurant and an illegal luxury casino opened in 1929 by Kansas City mob boss John Lazia. Lazia even brought in French chefs and literally bought off the local sheriff so his fortress couldn't be raided. Now contrast that illegal, mob-run syndicate of the past with the Argosy Casino, which arrived in 1994. One was an illegal mob operation, the other a completely legal, state-regulated economic engine for the city. It's night and day.
Section 2. Mud, Sweat, and Gears. But of course, that glamorous era couldn't last forever. The wheel of fortune had to turn. We transition now away from the fedoras, the thoroughbreds, and those elite clubhouses. By 1937, a massive wave of anti-gambling sentiment swept through the region, outlawing even that clever donation system, and Riverside Downs was shut down for good. By 1939, Tom Pendergast was facing his own downfall for tax evasion. The town actually went pretty quiet for a bit, but the roar eventually returned in June of 1951, when a local businessman named E.H. Young opened up the Riverside Speedway. Now, instead of elite politicians sipping cocktails, this new era smelled heavily of mud, burning rubber, and gasoline. The Riverside Speedway was a half-mile dirt track where working-class drivers pushed their stock cars to top speeds of around 55 to 66 miles per hour. This was blue-collar, Saturday night family entertainment through and through. Drivers weren't racing for massive mob payouts anymore. They were out there racing for the sheer thrill of it, maybe some small cash prizes and trophies. It truly became the birthplace of local racing heroes. But, Riverside has always had this formidable neighbor, the Missouri River. Just 1 month after the speedway opened, and literally the exact same month Riverside officially incorporated as a city, the Great Flood of July 1951 hit. The crest reached 46.2 feet. It completely swallowed the brand new speedway and left behind this incredibly thick, smelly coating of mud and debris across the entire valley. The stark reality of Riverside's geography is that, sure, it's a remarkably resilient town, but it's one that has been locked in a constant existential battle with muddy waters. Major, devastating floods tore through the town not just in 51, but again in 1952, 73, 82, and most famously in the historic Great Flood of 1993, which inundated scores of local businesses and honestly threatened the city's very existence.
Section 3. The House wins legally.
Something had to change if the city was going to survive all this. In 1994, Riverside welcomed the Argosy Casino, making it the very first gaming riverboat in the metropolitan Kansas City area. Now, it's important to note that state-sanctioned gaming is always a subject of public debate when it comes to societal impacts. However, purely from an economic and historical standpoint for Riverside, the arrival of the Argosy was a monumental turning point. The very vices that were aggressively outlawed in 1937 had essentially returned to save the town. So the crucial point is just how much this shifted the landscape. By 2005, the Argosy Casino was providing $11.7 million in a single year to Riverside's budget. Think about that for a second. For a small town that had previously struggled to fund basic services or even patch a road, this was an unimaginable financial windfall.
But what truly sets Riverside apart from a lot of other places is how city leaders capitalized on the house. They didn't just squander the money on bloated operating budgets. Instead, they poured it directly into permanent infrastructure. For the first time ever, neighborhoods got paved streets with proper curves and sidewalks. They built a beautiful modern community center, a brand new city hall, and most impressively of all, they finally tamed the river. Using those gaming funds, Riverside completed an $87 million state-of-the-art levee system in 2005, officially securing the city's future against the floodwaters that had plagued it for over a century.
Section 4. Echoes of the Past. As we bring this explainer to its final act, it's pretty incredible to just step back and compare the two Riversides. On one hand, you have the gritty origins of the 1930s. Muddy tracks, mob bosses operating right in the shadows, donation loopholes, and wooden grandstands just thrown together in the middle of the night. On the other hand, you have the highly polished reality of today. Massive concrete levees, strictly regulated state-sanctioned casinos, and pristine public infrastructure. The transformation is absolutely striking.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. As Riverside continues to evolve into a clean, modern, and forward-thinking city, will it remember the muddy, rebellious roots that actually built it? It is such a poetic irony that a town constantly threatened by nature was ultimately saved by the exact same vices it was founded upon. It's just a fascinating cycle of history, and I really hope this explainer has given you a whole new perspective on the outlaw river town of Riverside. Thanks for exploring this amazing story with me.